The FNL Network talk show.
Hello, everyone.
Hey!
Hey. How's everyone doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. So today I'm the host, and I came up with a few topics. We'll all get a chance to speak on them today. What? Wow. Okay, so today I thought, since it's so important and it's a big topic in the news, is everything that's going down, what went down at Robb Elementary, and what do you think about this issue of gun control? So I want to hear a little bit from everyone on how this affected them, what you think, and what we can do moving forward. Okay, why don't I start with Estefania?
I think it's not something new, and that's the worst part. It's something that is been happening and nothing happens about this reality that it's been happening.
Yeah.
You know, even though thankfully it didn't affect someone in my family directly. I do have closest family. My cousin is a teacher at a public school. I do have little cousins from the same age of the little kids that died. And I think something should happen. I mean, we all know what is going on.
Yeah.
But we can do anything. So that's even scarier for me.
Yeah, of course.
Sure. I mean, everybody always says, oh, the right to bear arms and to defend ourselves. I mean, when it was written, the gun was a musket. So I say muskets for everyone, but there is no reason for a weapon of mass destruction in any civilian's hands, period. You know, if we want to entrust our law enforcement with that, if we want to, trust our military with that, fine. You know, somebody has to be the protectors and some people want to protect and serve. But your average citizen, if you're not hunting, what do you need such weapons for? It makes absolutely no sense. A handgun can be used for self-defense. I mean, and when you look at statistics, we have more murders by guns because we have more guns in the country, period. Now, it may be too late. You can't take back somebody's weapons, but why don't we regulate it like we do with a driver's license? If you've had too many tickets, your license is revoked, but we don't even have to do a background check in order to get a gun. It makes no sense to me. The kid wasn't legal to drink, but he could get several weapons that can rip apart a human body. I mean, and the weapon wasn't even made to kill, say, an animal or a person. It's meant to implode. That's ridiculous, where they didn't even know if these children could possibly be recognized by their own parents. It's beyond. I mean, the need for somebody to have an artillery in their own home is insane. And at the end of the day, I understand the fact that, well, if the bad guy has this, the good guy wants to have it as well. Well, you know what? The cops were outside, the good guys, for an hour, and they let the bad guy continue with the gun. They had weapons, and it still did not deter anything. We've had armed security, like at the grocery store in Buffalo before this. And because the gentleman had so much armor on who went in there for racist killing, he could not penetrate his armor either. So the idea of being able to equally defend yourself is cute in theory, but it clearly does not work in reality.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think we have to have gun control. I don't think you should be able to easily get a gun. I saw a video where they showed you how easy it is to get a gun. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And, we don't have this in other countries. Other countries, you can't really get a gun, and they don't have the violence like we do here. So it's not good. And I hope we can move ahead to make some changes.
For me, it's not even just the background check. You should have a psychological, a personality test, something like serious. I mean, a gun, it's not a toy. And if you give me a gun, I wouldn't know what to do. I would probably hurt myself, not stuck to others.
Well, and a lot of the gun violence and deaths, it turns out, are by suicide. So I also think it's not helping the people who are even deciding to purchase it, or even say a moment of rage. If you don't have a weapon like a gun, even if you say we're very depressed and wanted to kill yourself, Well, a gun makes it easier for it to be permanent and for you not to be able to change your train of thought. Same thing if you're in a bar and you're able to legally carry, instead of punching someone, now you have the option to shoot them. I mean, are we still in the Wild West? Why? Why is this needed? It just seems like it is over kill and not necessary, at all to have to walk around always with a weapon. I don't get it.
Wrong. It's horrifying. I've been watching the news and watching these parents just like crying. But like one of them got away from the police. She was being held back by the police. She got away, like they handcuffed her, and she ran in and she got her two kids out because the police weren't even doing anything.
No, they were waiting. They were waiting for their armor and their
Yeah.
protection
She
instead of
like
going in
jumped
to help
over
the
a
children.
fence. Yeah, she jumped over a fence, got into the school, and got the kids out. So the whole
I didn't hear that, but God bless,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's very disturbing. All right, well, I'm kind of feeling done with this topic. Do we want to move on to another topic?
Sure.
Okay.
Or yes.
Okay, like I have more positive topics, so that's kind of more naturally who I am. I had this idea that we could talk about what kind of manifestation or magic has happened in your life, or just kind of was something that happened that was so amazing, it was mind blowing, and it could be a small thing. Mine's actually a small thing, but it was still to me like whoa, or a big thing because big things happen too. I just wanted to hear a little story from people about something they manifested that was magic for them. So let's start with Estefania.
Woo.
Well, this actually happened not a long time ago. It was 3 months. I'm saying I'm not from here. I'm from Ecuador originally,
Oh, cool.
and I always wanted to study here.
Mm.
I have a lot of family here, so that's why I speak English in a way. And so yeah, 3 months ago, I manifested to came here to study, to doing my master's, and here I am talking to you guys.
Oh,
Woohoo.
what school are you going to?
I am right now. I'm in this English program that I have to pass in order to go
What is
to
it?
UM.
University of Miami.
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yes.
I was in Miami in February. It's fabulous. That's great.
Oh yes, yes, yes. It's really nice. I love it.
That's great. And what are you studying? What are you getting your master's in?
I am an attorney.
Oh,
I studied law in my country. Yes, so I'm getting an LLM here,
Wow.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And yes,
Do you know what type of attorney, like what kind of things you want to be working on?
yes, yes, yes. I've known it since I started to study law, and I'm an international lawyer. I love it, public and private. So that's what I'm doing my master's in.
That's great.
Yeah.
congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right, let's move on to Sean. I know Sean a very long time. I consider him my best friend, and
Yay.
yeah, we met a long time ago. He might be telling the story of how we met. I think that's what's going on. I'm not sure, because it's kind of interesting and weird. But he might not. I don't know what he's gonna say.
No one ever does, really. It's like kind of Tourette's without the diagnosis.
It is like, what did you manifest, and how was it magical, and how did that affect you?
Well, sure. Okay, so I will go to how we became friends. Why not? So I remember when I first moved to New York many moons ago, I didn't know how I was going to support myself. So the first job, because I came here to be an actor, that somebody told me about was cater waitering. And so I was at parties and I'd see on occasion people performing or doing different things at the events. And I was in my mind, I'm like, I should be at the party. I should be one of the people performing. I shouldn't be holding a tray. I wasn't feeling it. And then so I decided, well, how am I going to get around this? I don't know. And I wound up doing a dinner show, and I met a young lady named Bettina Skye while we were doing a dinner show. And because I kind of was looking for other avenues, it's like, hey, well, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm an actress, and I, perform at all these events and parties. And I'm like, really? I was like, that was just my thought the other day. I was like, I'd rather, perform at these events instead of, just serving at them, And she's like, oh, I'll give you all the information. I'll hook you up. And it's like, oh, okay, great. And I was like, can I have your number? And she's like, sure. And then I gave her my card. And then that was it. So then I left a message, cricket. cricket. Left another message, cricket,
I don't remember this
cricket.
part, but he insists.
You know, and then like in my mind, it's like, this woman is doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And she said she would help me. And then so then we just kept running into each other randomly. So Bettina has a better recollection. Where did we run into each other? Other than I remember my gym one time you're doing tarot
Yeah, I'll
reading.
tell you the 5 times, all in a very short time period. And I thought that was completely weird. I
You
was
ran into each other in New York.
yeah,
In New York, at all different locations.
completely different locations. The first one, I was on the Upper West Side. I got hired to read tarot cards. I read tarot, and I was hired at this gym, the Crunch Gym.
Crunch Gym, where I worked out.
And I'm reading tarot, and he shows up. That was one. Next time, I lived in the West Village at that time, and me and my husband went to this diner called Manitou's, and for whatever reason, all of a sudden Sean walks in.
Yep.
How is that possible? And then the third time was I was on 42nd Street, like it was the middle of the street, and all of a sudden there's Sean.
Poof.
Oh my God.
Actually, I can't remember the other two right now. I know I've told the story a number of times. So then I thought to myself, well, now this is very strange. And I decided to invite him over and have a little chat with him and help him, you know.
And she did. And I remember she taught me how to read tarot for events. And my very first tarot gig was when it was Y2K, everybody was scared, turning the year 2000. And that year, because I met another girl, I met a woman who did impersonations. And I was like, ha, 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 how funny. Well, a lot of the stuff like performing at parties pays 100 or more an hour. And the lookalike stuff was paying $400 or $500 an hour. So I'd been told when I was little, especially, that I looked like Elvis. So I bought an Elvis suit. So anyhow, long and short of it, because of Bettina, somebody called me and they're like, what can you do for the governor's ball for the year 2000 that nobody else can do? And I'm like, Elvis tarot reading. And they're like, how much? And I'm like, 4,000. And I've never read tarot before in my life. And they're like, sure. I mean, so I'm studying right up to the point I'm beginning, because I'm like, what the hell do these cards mean? I have no idea. The other tarot reader was there. And I was like, hey, have you done this for a while? And he's like, oh, many years. So I was like, oh, Lord. And then so I start doing it. And one of the women comes over and she's like, you're so much better than the other guy. And I'm like, oh, well, some of us have the challenge, some don't. And meanwhile, I had no idea what I was doing.
You're naturally receptive, you know. That's
and
why.
she led to one of my biggest, paid events ever, just within a week or two of her training me. So it was kind of funny.
We should write a book full of crazy experiences.
Oh, we have a lot.
Yeah. I have just like a little small thing that happened a long time ago, but it was so specific and weird to me that I like to tell this story. I was living on Bank Street with my husband. We just moved in there, so it was a long time ago. And we needed a certain type of like blinds, like some shades. And they needed to be like a certain size and a certain width and a certain diameter. They were very specific and unusual. And we were like, this is what we need. Let's go to IKEA. Anyway, we spent the entire day in IKEA. We could not find these specific shades. But when we came back home, all upset, those shades were left on our stoop. Like someone threw them out. They were very specific, like they were unusual length and width. And we took them in. I was like, oh my God. And we put them up and we had those shades for 10 years.
That's cool. Nothing shady about that experience. What?
I mean, I've had so many, many, many things, particularly in the area of like people changing their film shoot schedule to accommodate me without having to ask them, just like naturally, like the time gets all shifted around. So it works for me, all kinds of things. But that's just I like that one so much because it's so specific and so real, like,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I have something like that. I'll share this.
Okay, good.
So I remember at a time, because like behind me I have like a Buddhist altar, because who doesn't? And at the time, the minister said, oh, you need to separate it with like something like doors or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. But then I was like, where am I going to find doors? And it's again, very specific. And I saw like these two like glass doors just on the side of the street. And I went to lift it and I work out and everything, but they still felt very heavy. And then so in my mind, it's just like, if only somebody would help me. And all of a sudden, a random African-American gentleman was like, do you need help carrying these? And I'm like, sure. And then he wouldn't even take a tip, and he helped me carry those doors to my apartment. And now I don't have the doors on my wall still, but I did for the longest time. But it's something very similar to Bettina's. So not only did I get the right thing, but somebody to help me carry it. So
I have another weird one.
keep going.
All right. When I was young, I was very into like Native American culture, and I bought. I'm not going to show you because it's no. I have some things from there, but some of them are not PC anymore, so won't talk about that. But I bought like this little oil called like Native American oil. Like it's a special oil to wear, and I thought it was so weird. Like if I wear this oil, what's going to happen? It was just like a weird thing. Anyways, I put the oil on, and my parents call me, and they're like, we're at the Native American Museum in New York City. I didn't even know that existed. Come down to spend the day with us and learn about the culture. And I ended up doing that for that day, which is a very strange thing for me to do, for my parents to call me last minute like that. And all from just like putting on that oil, like it just seemed very bizarre and coincidental.
Love it.
Yeah, universe coming together. Anything else before we move on?
Or even the simplest thing. Doesn't it happen to you guys that you find a parking lot where you're just desperately needed? It happens to me all the time that I'm like, please, I'm already late. And there you go.
Yes, and
There is the parking.
That's a very helpful skill when you live in New York City and you have a car. So yes, that happened to me many times.
Yeah.
And when you drive all over the place, I drive all over the place to different gigs, and I'm always like, where am I going to park? And then boom, someone leaves. There I am. Yeah. I think the universe does want to help us out if we're open to it and we believe it. If we're in that zone, that high vibration, it will work out.
Oh, I have a funny one.
Great.
This made me think. Okay, so I've done spokesperson work for many companies, but I've done it for like years for automotives. So one time, and and it pays pretty well. It's like $50 to $100 an hour. Anyhow, one of the times they were going to give me my same day rate, but they weren't going to give me a hotel room, and going with the Florida theme, it was in Miami. And so I always like going to Miami because it's kind of like a paid vacation. So, I get to tan before work and we go out after work and so forth. So they're like, okay, you'll be like the box boy, which is like really funny because like I'm not a manual labor type of guy or whatever, but it was just to put out like some keychains and tchotchkes. So 90% of the time I wasn't even working. Okay. So before I agreed to the job, I asked a coworker, hey, do you mind if I crash in your room, and I'll make sure we get the upgrades to balcony and ocean view, because that's my specialty, getting like free stuff and upgrades. And he was like, no problem. So day one happens, and I'm like, intending to share with him. And there's a new woman who they just hired who is supposed to be doing the job that I normally do, like speaking on the mic and stuff, but I was box guy. And so all of a sudden she has like a nervous breakdown. She's just like a new girl who like just did not like being away from home, and she was freaking out. And then so she just leaves like after like day one, and like, has to go home, etc. So I was like, oh, that's sad. But one of my coworkers was like, well, what about her room? I'm like, So I called my boss and I'm like, the person who left, can I get her room? And they're like, okay. So I moved into her room. She ran out in such a hurry. She left water and moisturizer. So now I'm well moistured. I have free water. And then of course, because I'm still a TiVo, I went to the front desk after. I'm like, she doesn't really have a view of the ocean and it's not a balcony. Can I trade rooms? And they did that too. So her breakdown was my good fortune.
That is a crazy story. I remember that one.
Yeah.
All right, any more on this topic, so I can move on to the next one? Oh, wait, the phone fell out. I can move on to the next
The
one.
Native Americans.
The spirits. They're like, why did you say that? I think the next one was about a weird special skill, but it could be anything, like something that like no one would know about you, or something weird that's interesting, or just something you're proud of that's a special skill, Who wants to go first?
I don't know if this is a skill or anything actually, but I can do this to my finger.
That's perfect. That is great. That's a perfect answer. That is.
I don't know
wonderful.
if it's useful,
It is.
but if you need this.
I hope you find a good.
I'm sure
use for
somebody
it.
has that
Hilarious.
fetish. You can probably create a finger OnlyFans page or whatever. Be like, oh, show me your finger, baby. Oh,
What a magic trick,
you know,
maybe.
well, yeah, that's a cleaner, nicer way to go. Not my choice, but
All right, Sean, tell me about your special skills. There are many.
Sure. The most obvious is what I wrote a book about is like getting free stuff and getting upgrades. I wrote a book called Luxury Steals and Deals, luxurystealsdeals.com. And anyhow, it's all about getting big ticket items. So for instance, my apartment rents for almost $5,000 a month and I only pay $800 a month. And then when my companies would fly me out to do spokesperson work, they usually would only book me in coach. 90% of the time I wind up in first class and I almost have a heart attack if I don't now because I'm so used to it, I'm just spoiled. And I found a way to always go to the first class lounge or Delta Sky Club, Amex and Cherry Lounge before flights. And then just in general, like I'm very good at some company, like I need a new iPhone, just writing, a letter, pleading my case, almost like a lawyer with no lawyer skills, saying why I deserve the phone and why you should send it and why you should want to keep my business. And 98% of the time, I get it. So it's just something that is kind of like a fun challenge in one way. And on the other hand, it just makes life, so much easier because, I like being pampered. I like things. And, I'm very good at the superficial, just saying.
Well, that's
it's
for
what's
sure
on the
more
inside
useful
that counts,
than the
but-
finger.
Yeah, well,
That's
hey,
for sure more useful than is now. I'm very.
hey, you make money from that finger. I'm just saying, there's a way to market
You
it.
gotta find it.
There you go. Love it. I usually get a different finger. I'm kidding.
Mine's a weird special skill. I mean, I have many weird skills, but my favorite is that I could say the alphabet backwards. I could say it very fast. And
Do it.
Yes, do it.
Okay, I'll do it. ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJHDFEDCBA.
Oh.
That's really good. Yeah,
That's my special skill.
I love it.
What happened was I once got pulled over. I was a teenager and they thought I was drunk or high or something. And I don't actually think I was. I think I was just a bad driver because I just learned to drive. But they were sure that I was drunk. And so they asked me to say the alphabet backwards and I could not do that. So after that incident, I just memorized it, and now
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it like rarely comes up, if ever. It came up once fairly recently. I work as a standardized patient, which is helping medical students to have a better bedside manner. And so in one of the scenes, she was asking me, like she was testing my neuro and my brain function. So she randomly asked me, can you say the alphabet backwards? I was so excited. Yes, I can. It's
Great
like,
moment.
I love it. Did you do it as quickly as you just did?
yeah, I did. And my friend Sassy was watching from she was observing, so she was like hysterical laughing, and the girl was just like blown away. She's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like,
I love it.
The one time it came up, it's a weird question to ask someone, but it came up, and I was like excited. Well, I do have one more topic. If you want to go one more round of things,
Sure.
This is about style and fashion. So I thought to myself, this is the Fashion Network, and I have very little to say about fashion, but I did come up with a topic about it, and it has to do with what your own personal style is, and do you think that you do follow your own style, or do you more into following the trends, and how do you decide how you're going to put together what you're going to wear?
Well, for me, I don't follow the trends, like the exact trends, but I do use little pieces of every trend, So I keep doing kind of the vintage, but then mixing it with the bike shorts that are now again on trend. And I don't know if I could pull that off, but still, I try it. I love how it looks, but I try. And then I think I mixed all of the new and old trends. I just like to mix it up. I don't think I have a style, and a specific one,
Yeah.
but I do love fashion.
Yeah. That's interesting. Thank you. Sean.
Well, I always try to blend in. So that's definitely my style, as you can see from what I'm wearing right now. It's like, where is that wallflower? Where is he? I gotta say, since the pandemic, I haven't been as good as like keeping everything fresh and current. Like somehow when I got used to just like walking out in what I used to only sleep in, then I got lazier, but before that, before COVID, I would always try to make sure, I'd have some current pieces that were like trendy and, going. And my particular style is always, more bright, colorful, in your face, almost couture. And then often I can get a good deal on it because other men will look at it and be like, oh my God. And I'll be like, oh my God, yeah. And I'll be the only one who wants to get that outfit, so then I get a good deal on it. And I remember like years ago, a friend had compared me to Jennifer Saunders from like AbFab, which was like, Le quoi, darling, le quoi, Givenchy, baby, Givenchy. And so I'm more like that. So I'm more like the chubby Jennifer Saunders, put it on my Givenchy, baby, and behave.
On a side note, I played
Oh.
her. The television show Ugly Betty? They hired
Yes.
me to play Jennifer Saunders. Like that was my character. I was imitating her on Ugly Betty.
Mind blown. You were with Chris. You posted that picture. I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah. If you look.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have pictures.
Oh my goodness. Of course there's a connection.
You guys are connected. Like you guys are meant to be.
Oh, even though she kept trying to run away. Yeah. Finally caught her.
Sean calls it what did you call it? The stupid of coincidence? Stupidest of coincidence. We have the weirdest connections and coincidences. Stupid. I forgot what you called it. Stupid coincidence or something. All right, it was funny. Fashion for me. Well, I don't have much in fashion or style, but it's more, I do like going to thrift stores and doing like whatever. I don't always match. People are always looking at me like, what are you wearing? But for me, my favorite fashion was the 80s when I was into Madonna. I was really into like lots of black lace and the little gloves and things like that. And I think in my mind, I kind of like to emulate that, but it doesn't really always come across. I'm just kind of wearing whatever. I mean, I go to the gym now a lot, so I have to like get it together to get some better work clothes. I just wish it was something I was better at, but I don't know. I put this on today because I really liked it. And I got a lot of compliments when I was out and about. Like a
cute little tracksuit, yeah.
Right? It's like a lacy. I like lacy.
Velvet.
Gypsy. Like I guess if I had wear gypsy. I mean, I also work as a clown, so I have to wear a lot of like strange clothes and costumes a lot. So.
Well, and remember when we had a fake lawsuit on Style Court? Because we were on TV together because she wanted to get a free makeover in an outfit. Right. So basically she had to be considered guilty of having no fashion sense, which she was. She was convicted. And then she got a whole makeover. So we're on a show called Style Court. I don't remember, maybe Lifetime? I don't remember where it was on.
I think there was something called the Style Channel.
Oh, well, there you go, maybe.
I had those for years.
Wow.
And she was convicted by the Style Channel. So there you go.
It was funny because.
And I helped do it.
Yeah, you did. The guy who played the judge, he happened to have lived on my block on Bank Street, which I didn't know at the time. But then, they gave me a makeover. They applauded it. It was really great. And the next day, I was on my way to a clown gig. I'm half in my clown outfit, and I bumped into that judge. I was like, "Hi."
I love it. Oh
what happened? They just like, what happened?
Went back to my old clowny self. That was out there. That was a good, magical thing. But that was. Made me feel terrible. I did have one more topic. Should we do that one more about the celebrity? I don't know if people have something to say about this, like an interesting celebrity encounter. People have that? I want to talk about that.
I do. I have a good one. But what about you, Estefania?
You can go ahead. I have none.
You never met a celebrity?
Never, ever. You guys are the first celebrities I met.
Oh, stop. Stop. I'm so embarrassed.
She could tell like her experience with us today.
Exactly.
All right, Sean, you can go with that topic.
Sure, because we both probably, me and Bettina, met lots of celebrities, but often what I find is like, if you're on set, you're doing one job, they're doing another, or you only have a small scene, or that's been my encounters. So I haven't had a lot of time to speak, in length. And then a lot of times too, the celebrities want to distance themselves or prep for the scene or what have you. So the one who really surprised me and pleasantly, I remember I was the same size to do some green screen work for the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie.
Oh, wow.
And so they had me just like doing like poses and stuff that they were going to cut in, I guess, for falls and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, do you mind being in the scene with Angelina? And I was like, of course not. And they're like, okay, so you run in because it's like the SWAT, team or whatever, and grab her. And I was like, oh, okay. And I don't know. I haven't slept all day or whatever because, 5 a.m. call or what have you. So I run in and I grab her. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, this is Angelina Jolie. And I was like, sorry if I grabbed you too tough. And then she was just like, I'm used to rougher. And then I was like, oh, she was like sassy. And then the props department was like, oh, Angelina, I'm so sorry we don't have like fur cuffs. She's like, why would I need that? And then so she just kept like going and like, with innuendo and all that other stuff. And she was just like very sweet. And we were talking in between takes. And so at the very end of the scene, she like looked at me and she's like, so are you joining us in DC? And I'm like, no plans, but make it happen. She's like, I'll work on it. And I was like, thanks. She didn't. But it was just so cute that she was like so relatable, so sassy, so fun.
Yeah.
She had, I think, a male nanny bring in her children or like 2 of the 20 children. So it was just very cute. I was like, oh, so it's just something that I'll treasure because I thought it was a fun moment.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What about you, Bettina?
I think I got 2 I want to share. They're my top 2 because, as I said, I've met so many. I had an opportunity to work with Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks on a television show called Whoopi's Little Berg. I was actually
Whoopi's Little what?
Whoopi's Little Berg. It was like a children's show about Whoopi and this little. Actually, there's 3 little stories. But Whoopi was kind of my idol because I love doing character actor, and as a youth, I went to see her one woman show like many times. So I was very excited about this. I'd also worked with her once before in a movie where she played a guy. There's a movie where she's a guy, and I didn't realize it was Whoopi until later. And she was such a weird looking guy that I sneered at her a couple of times. And then I found out later it was Whoopi, and I was like, oh boy. But anyways. I worked with her for 2 weeks and she was super nice. And she always would like get coffee, like she'd send like her driver out to Starbucks to get everyone coffee. And at one time my dad was going into the hospital. He was having like an 8-hour surgery on his back. And she was like, go sit in my dressing room for the day. You don't have to work. You should just chill out and be next to the phone in case your dad calls. And I just sat there and I tried on a lipstick. Made a phone call. It was very, because I was very upset and concerned when your dad's in like a surgery for 8 hours. It's you can't even think of anything else. It's hard. But she was like super nice. And he's like, tell your dad I say hello. And him like, he says hello too. So that was the same shoot. Like I went into the bathroom and I came out and there's Rosie Perez. And Rosie Perez is like, hello. And she wants to shake my hand. I'm like, I really got to wash my hands first. But and the third one, it happened fairly recently. Do you guys know who Colin Jost is? He's a writer on SNL. He's Weekend Update. I just think he's awesome and hilarious. It's like a big thing for me. Anyways, I met him, but I was on a clown job dressed as an elf. So it was an unexpected.
Who isn't?
It was an unexpected meeting. And instead of being cool, calm, and collected, I was not. I just freaked out. There was a lot of bowing. There was just thank you for all the laughs. Thank you for the laughs. I'm like,
I love it.
It was crazy. I couldn't believe he was at this like children's event, but it was a country club that he was a member of. And he was just like having a beer. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm having a beer. I'm like, well, I gotta go back to making balloons. I made him a Batman balloon.
So funny.
So sweet. He's so cute and so sweet. He let me take a picture with me. No, it's just one of my fun.
I have another one too, which is kind of like yours, a freak out moment. Okay, and it goes back to like magic and making things happen. So I was in Chicago doing keynote speaking, and I found out one of my coworkers, she's like, oh, I'm like 2 days from now, I'm going to the Oprah Winfrey Show. I'm like, what? Because I grew up in little rural Florida watching Oprah every day. And my dream was always to be a guest on the Oprah Show. And I loved Oprah. Oprah and Madonna were my two ladies. And so I'm like, how are you getting into the show? And like, I thought it's hard to get tickets. She's like, oh, well, we're staying, like me as well, at the Lowe's, which was the official show of the Oprah Winfrey Show, the official hotel. And I'm like, oh, and she's like, I just asked the concierge. I'm like, huh. So I go to the concierge and like, I had like 1 day left, in this time frame where I could actually make it before work. I was like, any way I could get tickets? She's like, I'll see. I gave her like a $20. She called, she's like, I got you in. And I'm like, really? And then one of my other coworkers wanted to go with me. She's like, okay, I'll get you 2 tickets. Okay. It's her farewell season. And so they were playing the Black Eyed Peas, like I've Got a Feeling or whatever. And like, we're like the last to be, because we're seat fillers, I guess, to be let in. So I come running in just because you wanted excitement. And I'm like, oh, so the warm-up woman grabs me and puts me on stage with her. And I'm like, what? And then she's like, starts interviewing me, and they're covering it now for the OWN network. They're filming me. So all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on the Oprah stage being interviewed, but not by Oprah, by the warm-up woman. And I'm like, oh. And then she's like, oh yeah, get the other people up to dance. So like I'd done like bar mitzvah dancing. So I'm like, slide and clap. And I'm getting everybody to like dance. And I'm all excited. And then, then finally they're like, okay, Oprah's coming, leave. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I go and I turn around, and then all of a sudden there's Oprah. And I see these sweet little pug eyes looking at me. And I didn't know what to say. I just totally froze. And I mean, clearly I'm somebody who can talk. And I'm just like, I love you. It's all that could come out. And then she looked at me with her sweet little swollen eyes and said, I love you too. And a gay tear came down my leg as I went up to my chair. So I love you, Oprah. I love you, my girl.
That's a great story.
Yes, it's a good.
I think we're going to conclude now. I think we're done chit-chatting. Sorry, Marianne couldn't join us, but that was super fun. I was really glad.
Yes, thank you.
Conversation. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I guess I don't know how to end it, but there we go.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.